Welcome back. This time we're talking about Colossal, starring Anne Hathaway and Jason Sudeikis, with a story that is one of the weirdest, strangest I've ever seen in a feature film. When I first saw the premise for this movie, I honestly didn't know how it was going to work. And honestly, it works pretty well, with one major caveat. As I said, I saw a short trailer for this a while back. Looked very weird, looks like a weird, dark comedy. So I kind of went in expecting a dark comedy. And I'd say about the first half of this movie fulfills those expectations. But there's a point where certain things happen where the jokes stop coming and I stopped laughing. And again, as I said, the movie as a whole ultimately works. But there was a not too short amount of time after that transition where I was not entirely sure if this was just sort of a very kind of serious patch of an otherwise comedy, or we were in the long haul for this, okay, we're not in a comedy anymore. And until I knew for sure one way or the other, I didn't really know how to react with the movie anymore. Because even in a dark comedy, there's certain things I'm really not willing to laugh at. And there are certain things that happen that even after it's over, it's kind of hard to start laughing again. And some of those things happen in this movie. And thinking at the in real time as I was watching it, thinking that the film was going to expect me to just start laughing again, was actually honestly off-putting. Fortunately for the film, although it's still I think an issue, it really doesn't ask you to laugh much after that. It does go into that pretty serious, dark stuff, and the comedy is kind of left to the side. So there is a very weird tonal shift about halfway through this movie that it really can't get over. But going dark and staying dark, for me at least, is better than going dark and then coming back and wanting us to laugh some more. So ultimately the film works, and I think I would actually enjoy it better the second time when I know what's coming, and I can just say, okay, this is where I'm going to stop laughing, and I can just enjoy the movie for what it is without the laughing. But it's hard for me to enjoy it the first time through as much as I might have otherwise. So that's why I'm trying to explain this before even getting into the actual story that makes this film so weird and odd. And that story is about this woman named Gloria, and she is pretty much a party girl in New York. And her boyfriend is fed up with this. He's tired of her coming home drunk. He's tired of her staying out all hours with people he doesn't know. And he's fed up. So he basically kicks her out of their apartment. And her only really resort, because she's been out of work for the last year, is to go back to her hometown and move into the vacant house she used to live in because her parents have moved on. And while they're in this town trying to figure out what her next step's going to be, she meets an old school associate named Oscar, played by Jason Sudeikis. And he owns a local bar, and of course, that's not good for her drinking problem, and that's sort of the initial setup for this movie. Now, it gets suddenly weird when a giant Godzilla monster starts devastating Seoul, Korea. And I don't want to get too much into the specifics, but as the monster continues to reappear each day, Gloria begins to realize that it has some of the same physical tics that she does, and comes to the startling conclusion that somehow, unwittingly and unknowingly, she is controlling this creature. And there's our movie. I really don't want to give anything else away. That's basically what I knew going in, and that's what drew me in, because I was like, wow, that is a very weird concept. I want to see where they go with this. Again, as I alluded to earlier, I went in expecting a dark comedy, because how else are you going to tell this story? And for the first half of the movie, that's essentially what we get, a dark comedy. There's things we're laughing at, there's things we're laughing at we probably shouldn't laugh at, and then there's a something happens, and it's sort of like the canary in the coal mine, as far as us realizing, oh, okay, this is, I'm not laughing, I don't want to laugh at this, where are we going? And I've already gone over all of that. It ultimately just kind of goes into this dark, much more serious path for the second half of the movie. I really would like to see this a second time to see if it works, knowing that going in. I think overall, I still enjoyed the movie. It's definitely darker than I was expecting, and definitely more serious in the second half than I was expecting. It's definitely weird. If you want like a grand fact-based explanation on why all this is happening, I don't think you're gonna get it. Trying to explain it is a little hard because it is so weird. I think the best way I could would be sort of like very early M. Night Shyamalan type storytelling. And I will say, from me, that is a compliment because I really liked early films from Shyamalan. So I'm still willing to recommend this movie to a select audience as long as you've got a dark sense of humor and a willingness to accept a pretty abrupt tonal shift about halfway through. If you just like quirky, weird stories, I think you're going to get something out of this movie. Just know it's dark and weird and somewhat almost off-putting at times. But ultimately, I think it works for what it was trying to do. I think it succeeds. It might have been able to do it a little bit better if they had found a way to handle that transition period in the middle a little bit better. But overall, I enjoyed it. And if you're in that select little circle that I've already sort of enumerated, I think you could find something to enjoy with this. So if you've seen Colossal, what did you think about it? And what did you expect going in? Were you expecting a dark comedy like I did? And did you feel that tonal shift? Did it hit you as hard as it hit me? And how do you think it handled it for the second half of the movie? As always, you can subscribe to my channel, check out some other reviews, and until next time, I'll see you at the movies.